The Taliban recently banned poppy cultivation in Afghanistan, but in reality isn't enforcing it. In fact, as you'll see, a senior Taliban official told us as much. So why the ban? The reasons are complex, but center around one indisputable reality: a lack of options. Opium cultivation for many Afghans, including sometimes the Taliban, is the only way to earn enough money in a shattered economy.
The brown mass oozing out of this poppy plant is extremely valuable. And right now it's harvest time in Afghanistan. Farmers are collecting the raw material necessary for opium, morphine, and heroin production. But in early April, the Taliban forbade poppy cultivation.
If this plant is banned from cultivation, we will be forced to steal. It doesn't make any sense to harvest other crops like maize or pomegranate. They don't yield enough profit to live off.
We visited these farmers just as this year's crop was being harvested. For 28 years, Mohammed Taj's family has been cultivating opium. The extremely dry climate in South Afghanistan is ideal for the plants.
We started planting opium because we don't have enough water or the necessary equipment for other crops. The people are poor and opium is profitable.
This farmer tells us he has 25 family members to care for. He has many children. He also grows grapes, but that's not enough to make ends meet. These bags contain his valuable product, and this is the market where the raw opium will be sold. It's the place where local drug lords meet. They smuggle the opium to Pakistan or Iran. From there, it is refined to heroin and shipped around the world, including to Europe. The dealers are not happy with the ban on opium cultivation.
We told the Taliban they had to do something for us first if they want us to stop selling opium.
In early April, the Taliban announced they were immediately banning the cultivation of opium. But the Deputy Minister for Taliban Drug Policy tells us this law is not being enforced.
As you can see from our announcement, we said that for the moment we will not be taking action against farmers who planted opium this year. If we do, many farmers will suffer great problems.
In 2020, Afghanistan was the world's largest opium producer, responsible for 85% of global production according to the UN. The Taliban taxed the cultivation and trade of the crop, earning millions of US dollars and helping finance their war, something they have never officially admitted. Ajay Sani explains to us why the Taliban are trying to ban opium production. His institute collects data and researches drug cultivation in Afghanistan.
The objective is certainly to get the approval first of the international community, hopefully move closer and closer to a recognition of the regime, which is very important for them because it would then allow many other revenues to flow in.
The Taliban minister confirmed this in the interview. He said, "The world has to help us. We ask them to take notice and stand by our side."
Joining me now from Istanbul is correspondent Ali Latifi, who's reported from Afghanistan for many years. Ali, the Taliban have banned opium cultivation officially, but as we see in our report, they don't appear to be actively enforcing the ban. Why is that, you think?
I mean, this is the thing, this is the same issue that the Republic had, that, enforcing the ban is extremely difficult because on the one hand, if you enforce it, what you're going to be doing is taking the livelihood of farmers who have really very few other options to make money. Like during the 20 years of the occupation, the former Republic always came up with these different schemes of, poppy alternatives like pomegranates or aloe vera or any apples, any sort of things that they thought would somehow, or saffron that they thought would make more money. And in reality, they could never support any of those markets to make sure that, for instance, those alternative crops would either be sold in sufficient amounts in the domestic market or would be exported properly around the region. So to enforce it is extremely, extremely difficult. And at the same time, you have to remember that, the Taliban in the past was involved in the drug trade themselves. They made millions of dollars a year off of it, usually by helping with the transportation of it. The former republic, too, was very complacent and very much involved, from the Ministry of Interior to MPs allied with the government, to strongmen allied with the government, to ministers in the government. They also had hands in this, drug trade.
Right.
So it's not so easy.
Then why ban it officially? Why is the Taliban resorted to this measure?
Because it's a nice, it's a nice PR. It's a nice buzz to create. We did what the former republic couldn't do. But the truth is they're falling victim to the same trap because they're banning it, as you said, in words, but unable to enforce it, and more importantly, not able to come up with real sustainable alternative sources of income at a time when, the economy is absolutely suffering, even more than it was during the Republic. So people are desperate for any way to make money, and obviously, poppy makes some money. It doesn't make as much money as the trafficking of it does, which is usually handled by regional mafias, by Pakistani and Irani and Tajiki mafias. But, it's some source of a reliable income for people.
Talk to us about those people. I mean, you've traveled quite extensively through Afghanistan. What have farmers told you, for instance? I mean, is opium cultivation really the only viable option for most of them?
In a lot of places, it grows really easily. It grows fairly easily, and it's something that there will always be a market for. You know that you can always sell it. And on the other hand, you have instances where, especially this was a big issue with the former republic, where certain strongmen lived within the area, and they would essentially force you to do it whether you wanted to or not, and basically threaten you if you weren't complying. But really, I remember a few years ago, the U.S. Embassy had this meeting to talk about, essentially they admitted to failing in the drug war in Afghanistan. And when someone brought up the issue of alternative crops, they made a really good point. They said, you can never compete with an illicit product. The price of an illicit product is always going to be more valuable than any legal substance, just because of the nature of trying to get it. And so farmers know this, and it's something that they've been doing for so long, and it's something that they know there is a market for. And as I said, if no government is able to come up with a true, clear, sustainable alternative, this is just going to continue to be a problem within Afghanistan.
We'll leave it there for today, though. Ali Latifi in Istanbul, thank you so much for joining us on that.
Thank you.